Show. You're now tuned to the Chelley Roy Show. Off, fish and walk in, mom, people know anything less is unacceptable. The Chelley Roy Show. Welcome to the Chelley Roy Show. You're now tuned to the Chelley Roy Show. Off, fish and walk in, mom, people know anything less is unacceptable.
Yes. Thank you guys for tuning into the Chelley Roy Show. I am your host, Chelley Roy, and we have an amazing show for you guys tonight. First off, I want to say that I hope you guys are being safe and sanitized. I hope you guys are having a great week. And also, guys, these COVID cases are climbing in the state of Maryland, so please, we ask you guys to wear your masks. If you have to be out, social distance yourselves, but please definitely wear your masks. So we have an amazing show for you guys tonight. We have some amazing guests that's lined up. Before I get started, I always want to thank our sponsors because that's very important. The Chelley Roy Show is sponsored by Liquid Lipo, where you can lose up to 1 pound a day. We're also sponsored by Built on Survival Skills Apparel. I also want to thank my mentor, Dr. Long, my executive producer, Delmas Luther. I also want to thank my makeup artist, Miss Amber Singletary, and my amazing photographer, Mr. Steven Tucker. Couldn't do it without these guys, so we are super excited to be here. We have some amazing guests coming up before we go to the break. We have Mr. Miles Rawls and Mrs. Vanetta Rather. You guys stay tuned. We'll be back after the break. Thank you. Thank you.
The Chelley Roy Show. Welcome to the Chelley Roy Show. You're now tuned to the Chelley Roy Show. Off, fish and walk in, mom, people know anything less is unacceptable. The Chelley Roy Show. Welcome to the Chelley Roy Show. You're now tuned to the Chelley Roy Show. Off, fish and walk in. No, anything less is unacceptable. The Chelley Roy Show. Welcome to the Chelley Roy Show. You're now tuned to the Chelley Roy Show. Balls talk, fashion, walk in, multipreneur. Anything less is unacceptable.
Thank you so much, you guys. You guys are an amazing audience. I appreciate your energy. We're tuned back into the Chelley Roy Show, guys. My next guest is CEO and founder of My Sister, My Seed. She's also an expert in sex trafficking, which is a real thing these days, and it's real life, happening in real life in the United States as well as the DMV. So help me welcome my first guest, Miss Vanetta Rather. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah.
Thank you so much for inviting me to share about sex trafficking today.
Thank you so much, Vanetta. So before we get started, for myself and the viewers, just give us an idea of where you're from and where you grew up.
Okay, well, I grew up right in Southeast Washington, D.C.
Okay.
I was born in Newport News, Virginia, but lived in D.C. since I was 1 year old. And
Awesome.
I actually grew up in Park Chester with my family, then on Mississippi Avenue in Southeast Washington, D.C. So I'm real familiar with your next guest, too. And
Awesome. More further and in depth later about sex trafficking and what that is, but just explain to myself and the audience and everyone that's watching what My Sister, My Seed is and the purpose of that organization.
yeah, My Sister, My Seed is a nonprofit that I started to educate girls and communities about sex trafficking, and I started it to empower young girls and give them a front line and a self-defense against the manipulation that traffickers use to enslave young girls. And so what we do is we do education workshops with churches, communities, sororities, anybody who needs and wants a training to be educated about trafficking. And I encourage everyone to seek out a training because sex trafficking is devastating the lives of very young girls, and it disproportionately impacts the lives of Black girls.
Absolutely.
And so I want all of us to know that this is a frontline fight that all of us must engage in. So we do education, awareness training. We do empowerment, giving girls self-esteem and self-worth. We do advocacy work. We are on Capitol Hill advocating for girls. And we also do restorative programs. So we work with different organizations that house girls who have been already trafficked. And what we do is try to help them restore and re-engage and remind them that they are not the experiences that they've been through.
Yes, absolutely.
Self-esteem and self-worth. And so we do preventive work, and then we do restorative work as well.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Like you said, it's such a devastating situation, and I'm glad that you're here with us tonight to speak more about the education side of it as well as the awareness, because that's very, very important. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk more and dive more into the sex trafficking and what that kind of looks like. Okay. So we'll be back after the break.
The Chelley Roy Show. Welcome to the Chelley Roy Show. You're now tuned to the Chelley Roy Show. Boss talk, fashion walk-in, multipreneur. Anything less is unacceptable. The Chelley Roy Show. Welcome to the Chelley Roy Show. You're now tuned to the Chelley Roy Show. Boss talk, fashion walk-in, multipreneur. Anything less is unacceptable.
Thank you guys for tuning back into the Chelley Roy Show. I am your host, and we are back with Miss Vanetta Rather. Hey, Vanetta.
Hey.
So I know we want to give more awareness and education to the sex trafficking. If you can explain to myself and the viewers who are watching a little bit about what sex trafficking is.
Sure. Well, the Department of Justice defines sex trafficking as anytime a minor, and this is domestic minor sex trafficking, but I want your audience to be clear that sex trafficking does happen to those to young women who aren't minors, but the definition of sex trafficking is anytime a girl is forced, manipulated, or coerced into providing any sexual favor for any exchange of anything of value.
Wow.
And that can mean if a girl is forced or manipulated into stripping, performing oral sex, or any kind of sexual activity in exchange for money, for clothing, for a place to live, for food. The Department of Justice defines that as trafficking. And so this is happening to a lot of young women who, are for different reasons, find themselves in very tricky situations in terms of having girls who are most at risk are girls who are runaways, are throwaways, or girls who are sexually abused. And there's a lot of sexual abuse that happens to young girls in this country. So 1 out of 4 girls in this nation is molested by age 18, and traffickers use that manipulation in order to enslave girls into trafficking, because that's what really sex trafficking is. It is modern day slavery.
Absolutely.
That is devastating the lives of young girls.
Wow. Thank you for that in-depth understanding of sex trafficking. So with that being said, and with your understanding and experience of sex trafficking, can you explain to myself and the viewers why you think women and children are more targeted, more so than men?
Yeah, sex trafficking happens to men and young boys too, but it disproportionately happens to women, and especially women of color. I want your viewers to know that Black girls make up 14% of the population in America, but they account for 60 to 70% of all sex trafficking victims, depending on what state you live in. So this is something that's disproportionately happening to young girls of color, and the reason why it is happening is simply because there are a lot of men in this nation, not a lot of men, but there is a market where grown men want to have sex with very young girls.
So
and there are those who are willing to supply that market. And plain and simple why it is happening.
Wow. That's unbelievable. Those are some large numbers that you put up as well. So since we're in the COVID pandemic, explain to me what sex trafficking has been like and how it has been impacted, or what things have been like during the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, well, since sex trafficking is underground and COVID has driven all of us to our homes, I want people to be clear that it is still happening. Um, Sex trafficking and the manipulation of young girls a lot of times happens over the internet. And now that young girls are not as much in school or learning from home or learning online, this gives traffickers more access to young girls. And so
Wow.
traffickers are just manipulating young girls who are vulnerable, who are just in need, looking for love, thinking that these grown men or whoever the trafficker is, because I want your audience to be clear that there is no
Absolutely.
set profile for a trafficker. A trafficker can be a parent, it can be a pastor, it can be a police
Wow.
officer, it can be anyone. And girls being at home, a lot of times the sexual abuse and trafficking happens in the home too. So COVID-19 um, forcing everyone to stay at
Right.
home is not really a retreat, or I don't want us to think it's not happening. It is still happening
Right.
to a great degree.
And thank you for clearing that up in terms of educating myself and the viewers that there's really no set profile, because I often thought, and maybe it's because, I watch too much Lifetime TV, but I always thought that there was a profile. I always thought that it was, your young, troubled teens, the ones that are having issues at home, your runaways. So I appreciate you educating us on it not being a set profile. So I appreciate that. So with you being an entrepreneur as well, what would you say are some of the positive points of you being an entrepreneur?
Well, I'm an entrepreneur, and I would call myself a faith entrepreneur because
Yes.
my whole goal is to empower women and girls. The mission of my nonprofit is creating a safer and a more just world for women and girls. And so women and girls are on my heart, and I create coaching programs and preaching sermons and teaching Bible studies and all of that kind of stuff to make sure women understand who they are. Because I know from working with girls in my nonprofit and working with grown women, I know that if we are empowered and we believe in ourselves and
Yes.
we know our worth and value, we can go through this world not being manipulated by traffickers, but getting to the places and spaces that God created for us. And so my whole entrepreneur goal in life is to make sure women are self-loving and know their worth and are not afraid to take the necessary risks to be who God created them to be in this world, because that's going to not only allow them to live an abundant life, but it also allows us to make the impact on the world God created us to make. And you can't do that aside from being the empowered woman that God created you to be.
Amen. No, I completely agree with that. Thank you, Dr. Rather. And you actually answered my next question in terms of how you are empowering women in the DMV. So thank you for thinking ahead. Last but not least, for myself as well as the viewers, are there any safe houses, or tell everybody how one would be able to get in touch with you and what your social media handles are?
You can reach me at my nonprofit. I have two websites, one for my nonprofit, one for my personal ministry. You can reach out to mysistermyseed.org, and
Okay.
on that website, there's an access to get in touch with me through email. You can also just email me outright at Vanetta Rather at mysistermyseed.org. If you go to our website, it is a lot of information there to tell you what trafficking is, gives you hotline
Absolutely.
numbers to contact if you suspect someone you know is in danger or in trouble. But there's just a lot of information there that you can read to educate yourself about trafficking, so that we can be the village for these young girls
Absolutely.
out here who need our protection. So please go to
Absolutely.
mysistermyseed.org, or you can go to drvanetarather.com if you want more information about the coaching and the women's empowerment entrepreneurship that I do.
Awesome. So you guys heard it here. You guys, if you have any questions, or if, like Dr. Rather said, if you know of anyone, or if you have any questions or inquiries, please go to mysistermyseed.com. And last but not least, Dr. Rather, is there anything else that we haven't discussed that you would like myself and the audience to know about?
Yeah, When it comes to sex trafficking, one piece of advice that I would give is that sex trafficking is not happening like it happens on TV, where we think vans are snatching girls off the street. I mean, I'm not saying that that doesn't happen, but what I'm saying to you is that sex trafficking, the reason girls get enslaved by traffickers is because traffickers are good at manipulating girls. Absolutely. And so we need to make sure we are engaged with girls. We are having conversations with them to let them know their worth and value, because that is the best defense that they have against the manipulation that traffickers use to enslave them. So it's not like it's going on TV. It's really happening in a different kind of way. And the way we protect girls is to engage with them, ask them questions, let them know that they are loved and valued, which is the best defense that we can give them.
I so agree with that. It definitely starts there. And thank you for my clarification, because like I said, in my mind, that was the profile that I was thinking that normally took place with the, the younger women who are, not happy at home, or runaways being snatched, in a vehicle. So thank you so much. It definitely starts at home, you guys, with the families and the support, and, letting our young women know their worth, and that they do have worth and quality, and that they are loved. So thank you so much for tuning in with us, Dr. Vanetta Rather. It was such an amazing opportunity to have you here. And we'll be right back after this quick break.
Thank you.
The Chelley Roy Show. Welcome to the Chelley Roy Show. You're now tuned to the Chelley Roy Show. Boss talk, fashion walk-in, multipreneur. Anything less is unacceptable. The Chelley Roy Show. Welcome to the Chelley Roy Show. You're now tuned to the Chelley Roy Show. Boss talk, fashion walk-in, multipreneur. Anything less is unacceptable.
Goodman mean everything, man. That's where it all started for me personally. I remember maybe about 7 years ago, you know, I was out here with my Uncle Big Will, rest in peace. He had his Showtime Madness team. And from there on, man, I just, you know, stuck with it, man. And each year I come out here and play. You know, I come out here, you know, to represent, you know, for the city. But also, man, you know, give back to the people, you know, since I played in the league and overseas. You know, they want to see us out here. So just trying to do something positive for everybody, man. Just come back and show them love. And just have a little fun, man. This is where you get your toughness from and everything also. So Goodman mean everything, especially when you come from D.C. and you playing ball.
Oh man, this is the most exciting thing happening in the city. Right now, if you come through the Goodman, you'll find everyone from all over, from Virginia, Maryland, D.C., Southeast, Northwest. They here at the Goodman.
It's like, it's something good for the young people. I mean, instead of everybody just, I mean, it's good instead of everybody just running around in the streets, you know. And then I know Gilbert Arenas be down here, and one games a lot of people, it'd be crowded, and one game it'd be crowded, and I like the Goodman.
Great league, you know, a lot of players come through here. Everybody in the city knows about it. And from what I hear, it's beginning to, you know, pick up from, you know, outside the city, Maryland, Virginia, of course. New York, I hear some people talking about it in New York. You know, I talk about it down at my school. So when I come home, you know, you want to find a great league and some great bump to play against. So you come to the Goodman League and you for sure will get some great bump.
Goodman, man, is always a time to come out and have a good time in the evenings. Watch some good basketball, hang out with, and see a lot of people that you haven't seen before. A nice social event and a nice place to promote your business.
Everything. It's the whole summer. Next to all days and travel with my kids in the summer. It's the Goodman. It's everything.
Man, the Goodman means a lot to me. I mean, what it does for the DC community as a whole, it brings people together. I mean, it's just great. It's great for the community, great for the fans, NBA players, and guys like myself, overseas guys. We come back, give back, and it brings everybody together. So it means a lot.
I mean, just a lot of fun, man. It's come back, see the little kids, get a little love, play a little basketball, man. It's competitive. I like it.
Oh, it's tough playing in the gates because there's so many hecklers and people in here. They want to see you do good, but if you come in here BSing, they're going to run you out of here. So there's a lot of pressure on you. You only get one chance. First time you touch the ball, if you don't do nothing when you got it, it's going to be a hard evening.
Goodness stands alone because it's the atmosphere. You'll never get this atmosphere nowhere else in the world, period.
Different world. Guys play up the Kenner League, they play up Dunbar, they play in these other playgrounds, and they shine. But when they step through those gates, it's a different world. It's a different world.
Thank you, guys. Welcome back to the Chelley Roy Show. I am your host, Chelley Roy, and my next guest is a man who's doing amazing things in the community. He's a big pillar in his community. He believes in giving back to his community. He's been a mentor to so many youth and men. He's been in existence and giving back to the community and making a difference for decades to come. So you guys help me welcome my first guest, Mr. Miles Rawls. Welcome. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's an honor, definitely. There's so much that I have to say and so much that we need to talk about. But first off, I want to, first ask how you and your family are doing during this pandemic. Are you being safe and sanitized?
Well, one of my younger brothers is currently COVID-19 positive, but he's doing pretty good. He doesn't have any symptoms, but
prayers up. God is going to turn that thing around.
Pastor Barrington Rawls, so we'll give him a shout out and
prayers up.
Prayers for him. But
absolutely.
Other than that, everybody's fine.
That's great. That's great. So for myself as well as the viewers who aren't familiar with the infamous Miles Rawls, tell everybody where you're from and where you grew up.
From Southeast D.C., Berry Farm, born and raised. That's my heart. That's my life. That's been my life.
Amen.
Since birth.
Got it.
That's where I grew up, and that's where I go back to give back to.
I love it. Oftentimes, when we come up through the struggles in life or just in life, period, And we get to a point where we feel like we've arrived and we made it, and we've made it out of where we grew up. Sometimes we forget about that. We forget where we come from. And in doing my research, I was very impressed. I felt the humbleness through my research, and everyone that I asked about you had nothing but great things to say. So give us a little bit more about the Goodman League, how that came about, what that was all about.
Well, the Goodman League initially started as the Berry Farm Community League back in 1977 when I was a young teenager in junior high school. We started out actually playing softball. And It was just the communities, the different streets. It was about six teams. So after the softball ended in the fall, they decided Irvin Brady, Carlton Reed, may he rest in peace, Morty Hammond, they decided what's next. So they did the basketball thing. So it was just us, Parkchester, Berry Farm, in those streets. So just us, no visitors, because back in them days, nobody coming down.
It's rough.
And nobody who's watching no games. So that's where it originated from. We did that till I went in the military in 1983. Decided the little jobs here and there wasn't what I wanted, so I decided to do something. I had a daughter at that time, a year-old daughter, so I decided to go in the military. Long story short, and I did 12 years in the military.
That's awesome. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you. So I was missing my kids in '86. I had another daughter. So after 12 years, it was time to do something different. The divorce from my first wife, so my kids was my main focus.
Absolutely.
So in '95, I decided to get out of the military, did that, was looking forward to coming back playing summer league ball, Berry Farms League.
Yeah.
That summer, everybody was in the alley, but no league. The summer of '96. So I'm like, no, '95. That was August. I'm like, where's the league? Nobody wants to run the league. You run it.
Yeah.
So they told me to run it, and the next year, '96, I did that. Took the torch, and 24 and a half years later, if you'd have told me to be this great, I'd have told you to go kick rocks.
Well, listen, you can't get in the way of greatness. You know what I mean? And it says a lot about you in terms of what you believed in and what your vision was. A spinoff of what you just said in terms of when you came back and you were asking where was the leave, and they kind of punted it back to you. The other humbling story that I heard was that, how can I say this? You were more of definitely a person who was well respected. You were able to bring two sides of the street together in a sense, called a truce. So basically, I was told that whenever the Goodman League was in place and you guys had games going on, there was no violence, no murders or anything. So that's really dope. And that's a real high honor, and that says a lot about what people think of you.
Especially back during those times, it was
absolutely
street beefs, hood beefs. The Goodman League was still Berry Farms until like 98, 2000. I let outside entities come in, and on any given day, you could walk in those gates and see that. Well, I know these jokers beefing with, the Valley beefing with Waller beefing with Berry Farm, Langston Lane, Clay Turs. I didn't know this at the time because I was away, and I wasn't no street guy. I was brought up in the streets, but I had no clue of these beefs that were going on until I started learning about them. But the strange thing is, as time went on, I could come in the gates and could tell you what Tom, Mo, and Joe would be doing if they weren't in here watching these games. And these street rival folks were actually in the gates, drinking, smoking. Normally when you mix those two
something
with
bad
street
happens.
beefs, it don't add up. So these guys, they were going home every day, and we come back, and I was on pins and needles, like, wondering if something was going to jump off.
Absolutely.
You know, out of 24 years, I can count on my one hand how many times something really serious as far as gunplay jumped off.
That's awesome.
And I would go address that with the folks once I found out
I love
who
it.
was involved. And so I just earned that respect. Like I said, I wasn't no street guy, wasn't hustling, wasn't doing none of that. You know, when I was running it as the community league, I was living off my brothers, because there was 16 of us, 13 boys and 3 girls. I was basically living off their rep, the neighborhood rep. But as time went on, I built my own respect. And so we didn't need police, because police weren't coming down there.
Absolutely.
So we were basically policing ourselves, the hood, and then the respects from the so-called OGs. And that's what made that thing, what it is. It wasn't just me. Trust me.
That's good stuff, though. I mean, like you said, you wasn't a street person. You weren't from the street. So to be able to have that caliber of, a personality where you can just bring different sides of the street together and just have that type of respect, that's amazing. Yeah. That's very amazing. So we're going to go to a quick break, you guys, and we'll be back with Mr. Miles Rawls.
This is Miles Rawls. This is one of the reasons that we're here. We had a scheduling problem at Bell in our 21st year. Made one phone call to this man right here. He said, don't worry about it. And because of his connections and introductions, we're here. And it's a successful event. We're in Berry Farms. Very, very happy that every resident of Berry Farms will receive one of these food baskets. That's huge. And the need is here, and we're happy to be right here in Berry Farms area. This man right here is a legend. And in this neighborhood, in the city, in this world, really. He's worldwide, over in Spain and everywhere else. But I just wanted to say thank you, Miles. Thank you for the opportunity to say something on camera.
Thank you, for allowing me to be a part of your great organization. First time representing Berry Farms basket. Thanks to Ransom Ray. It's a whole team effort. You gotta have a team when you're doing big stuff like this. Ain't no one person, ain't no I, a whole team. So thanks to Project Give Back and all the volunteers for coming out. Another successful event. 2015, Project Give Back. Move it.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
I love it.
Thank you for tuning back into the Chelley Roy Show, guys. I am here with the amazing and infamous Mr. Miles Rawls. Welcome back, Miles. Welcome back. So we talked extensively about your work in the community, about the Goodman League and what's that about. What I forgot to ask you was, explain to myself and the viewers what the role of a commissioner does for the league.
Well, my role was basically running the league, doing the schedule.
Got it.
Building relationships with the police when it was time to do that. Building relationships, like I said, and you had gangsters, all the gangsters, all the top drug dealers were at the games, all of the cops, all the robbers. You had all of that inside those gates. So basically, my job was to keep peace, and like I said, once you build that respect from the streets, then everything just fell in place. Like I said, you had a few little incidents, but I'll take that. East of the river, the poorest ward in the city, no police down there for the longest time, and we were, like I said, policing ourselves. When the police started coming, they were a problem. They were more of a problem than they were down there to hurt the situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so luckily I had some good folks in my corner, in Ron Moten, Peaceaholics, and retired Deputy Chief Diane Grooms that was with MPD, that would she would keep the dogs off me.
I was getting ready to say, it's always good to be able to cash your check and have something in your back pocket.
When she knew they were overstepping, she didn't compromise safety.
Yeah.
But when it was the BS going on, and I would call her, she would handle it for me. So that's a part of building those relationships that you have to have.
Yes.
In that environment, because that at the time that was a jungle.
I can imagine.
But it was a good jungle.
Good jungle. So, no, I can imagine. So, being as though you are from Berry Farms, you grew up in Berry Farms, you decided to come back, give to the community, be very instrumental in the community. Is there a memorable moment that ever happened? I'm sure you probably have many, but is there a memorable moment that happened that just kind of sticks with you and you kind of take with you every day?
From the games?
Mm-hmm. Just from your experience there growing up, everything you've seen over the years.
My memorable moment is growing up down Berry Farms. The camaraderie, the family, the love from the whole community. It's not like these communities are today.
Yeah.
Back then, we looked out for each other. The big brother that wasn't your blood brother had carte blanche to put his foot in your butt if you were doing wrong. So we were one community then. Wasn't no robbing nobody.
It's so necessary.
Yeah, it's totally different now than the hoods now. The same guy you drinking a beer with.
You gotta be careful.
2 seconds later, you done
Look
robbed
over your
them
shoulder.
down. Yeah, so it's that turning that around. Because like I said, I had no clue.
Right.
That how this thing was gonna turn out. I'm a day-to-day type of guy. So, and the Goodman League, it was year by year. I used to get interviews and people were like, "What's next year?" And I don't know. Ask me about tomorrow.
Right.
And I'll tell you about tomorrow when tomorrow gets here.
Right.
I didn't have a short-range calendar, but I always wanted to make that better than it was the year before because I didn't have a lot of tools in my toolbox. No help from the city.
You've done well.
Running that. So that's my proudest moment, doing it for so long.
Yeah.
Without city funding or backing for that. The backing came on the back end.
Right.
But we would, they wasn't coming east of the river.
Right.
The government wasn't coming down there. That's just them niggas down Berry Farm. Let them do them.
Right.
So that changed. I want to say in 2004, 2005, when Gilbert Arenas was with the Wizards and he started coming down there. So that brings the reporters, the lights, cameras, action. But we
what was
down
that
there.
feeling like?
That feeling, but it was great for the fans, for the kids, and he kept it so real because he brought the other pros, his teammates. So we can't go to the Capitol Center. We couldn't go to Verizon.
Right.
These kids couldn't afford to go to a game, so he came and he just changed that whole situation for those 4 years to where the kids, he stayed by himself, no entourage. And then when Kevin Durant and Beasley and those guys made it to the pros, they came down so the kids could reach out and touch them. When Bradley
that was
Beals,
awesome. I remember that.
Yeah, and the John Walls were coming. Bradley Beal brother was like, "Oh no, we can't take pictures with. If he not gonna take pictures, if he don't want to shake no kids' hands, then y'all can get your asses up and he can roll because this."
No, that is real talk,
and
definitely.
That's the conversation I had with Bradley Beal brother. Oh, he don't want to sign. Well, y'all need it, y'all need to roll. Because down here, you're going to take pictures. You're going to shoot around at halftime. You're going to interact with these kids that's running up to you. How can you
love that.
turn away from that?
Absolutely.
So I used to try to keep it as 100 as possible because...
And I see that you're doing that.
Yeah,
you're doing
so that was major.
A great job.
When he came down to do that. And one game was a major game. The first and one game. We never had nothing like that east of the river. So,
gotcha.
Lonnie Harrell was from Congress Park. Shaq was from Trinidad. And, again, building relationships.
Yeah.
The Goodman League had built a name up
Absolutely.
By then, just with
and
the
it's
regular,
about sustaining
with the
those
regular hoopers
relationships.
before Gilbert and them came.
Yeah.
The gates were on fire with just DC basketball. You know, that's what brought Gil to the gates. Because I asked him, he said, no, any pro in any city, if you in a town, you want to find out where that good rec at. And so it was on the blacktop.
That's
a lot of
good
pros
stuff.
didn't like to play on the blacktop.
No.
He actually hurt himself playing on that blacktop. He loved it so much that when he shouldn't have played, he played because he was like Samuel L. Jackson. He was in too deep.
It was into him.
Yeah, once that crowd and he got that love.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. That's another
no, I appreciate that for sure.
Thing. That was special. That era.
No, I totally appreciate that. And as a spinoff of your comment, since the Goodman League has been around for decades now, who are you now sponsored by? What are some of your big sponsors? Since in the early stages of it, you didn't really have sponsors.
I got to give props to my first sponsor was Madness.
All right.
Yeah. And
give it up for Madness.
Knows, Ty Madness and, was back then we was shaking hands and getting the money like that. It was, but Ty Madness and Madness was my first sponsor when we didn't have lights. And we didn't have lights down Berry Farm for
You mean street lights? Or?
No, on the court, a super long time.
Gotcha.
That's how long the government, that's how long they were neglecting Ward 8.
Wow.
No lights. So we were playing at 5 o'clock because we had to beat the sun going down.
The sun,
My friend Tony Awaj and Associates had an electric company, and he went against the city's wishes, and he got me lights the best he could.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he did that, Tony Awaj and Associates. And then when Gilbert came, I got the fiberglass backboards. He was like, what you need?
Yeah.
Fiberglass backboards, all that type of stuff. So I think in
That's awesome.
2007, I got lucky and got with Nike.
Awesome.
Nike has been a sponsor since 2007. Red Bull has been on board for the last 6 years, and I have have some corporate sponsors that I met these folks down when I was going to the Wizards games.
That's awesome, and it's so well deserving.
Corporate sponsors that I deal with from Jan Adams and Associates, the Capital Group. I met some good people, and I'm normally the type of guy people cling to.
Yeah.
Because I keep it 100.
Well, you're a humble, likable person too, so how could you not, for sure.
Yeah, so
that's awesome, Miles.
So
congratulations.
Me and Nike been around since 2007, so that's
dope.
And that was big, like I said, because I wasn't getting.
Yeah, that's major.
I wasn't getting a dime from the city.
Yeah, no, that's major. Major. So before I forget, since it's holiday season, Thanksgiving season, and happy holiday early Thanksgiving to all of my viewers and my guests. Tell me a little bit about your giveaway. I think you're doing a turkey giveaway. Give us a little bit more information about that.
Well, the Goodman League was lucky I met Ransom Miller, who's the CEO of Project Give Back.
Okay.
And what they do is they're in the poorest communities in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, doing a lot of stuff. So they do this annual Thanksgiving basket giveaway. And I was like, well, how can I get with that? So the little sponsorship money I was getting, I had to sponsor to pay for Thanksgiving baskets, for Berry Farm neighborhood. I said, well, my neighborhood, we started out, I was just doing like 50 baskets.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that grew, and I was getting more sponsors, so I was able to sponsor his situation. So, because I wanted to feed every family.
Right.
And at that time, Berry Farm had 340 tenants on leases.
Wow. Okay.
So I was able to do that. I've been doing this now it's probably about my 10th year. I do our annual Thanksgiving basket giveaway to all the residents at Berry Farms, and I include Parkchester since we all grew up together. So now that gentrification has set in, I could have easily backed out of that and say, okay, nobody's living here. So, but they're on my line. They looked for this
That's good.
every year.
So how would one find the information on how to sign up, or where would they need to go to get involved or try to get, one of the turkey giveaways?
Well, the giveaways are normally for my Berry Farm and Parkchester residents. So I normally just send out a email, or I call my former tenant association president. She gets on the line and calls everybody. They already know this is happening.
That's coming. Yeah.
That it's coming, and Miles gonna look out. And
yeah.
So I'm getting ready to do
That's
that
dope,
this
Miles.
Saturday on the 21st at Berry Farm. I got baskets for 150
That's awesome.
families.
If there's anything I can do to help, I would love to help.
Due to COVID,
you need some support.
We've with Project Give Back, they have kind of cut the volunteering things down. It used to be a whole colleges come and help. They cut that down due to the COVID situation. So
I understand.
What they'll do, they'll just drop my stuff off their Berry Farms, and then the families will come down,
pick it up,
and pick the stuff up. And then I'm doing my annual toy drive.
Oh, that's awesome.
As well on the 21st of December. So just try to give back.
Some amazing things. I appreciate you giving back for sure.
Yeah, I get
that's
that.
Awesome.
I get that from my mom.
That's
because she gave.
That's a nice characteristic to have. So I appreciate that, and I'm sure the community appreciates it as well. So before we end, I know that you're working on a documentary.
Yes.
Give us a little bit of background on the documentary. What's it about?
The doc is a 25-year documentary. Next year will mark 25 years. Like I said, I don't know where the time went.
That's a milestone, guys. Give it up for Mr. Miles. 25 years. Awesome.
I don't know where the time went. Great. I was just trying to do something to keep things going in the community, and 25 years later, and this platform that the Goodman League has provided me, it's been an amazing run. So we're going to we're working on, as we speak, 25-year documentary.
That's awesome.
We're in the interview phases now, and the plan is to shop that doc to some cable networks. And,
I know you guys are going to kill it. I know you guys are going to get it.
Put on Showtime, Netflix.
Speak it into existence. I know it's going to happen for sure.
Yeah,
so guys, do we have a copy of Miles's documentary that we're going to play, or did we already play that?
Wake up, Luther.
Okay. No, I thought maybe we had a clip or something. So no, that's super amazing. Yeah. I know you guys are going to get to all the mainstreams and all the networks where you guys want to go. So that's perfect.
We're going to put Southside on the, take it to another level with this documentary.
Okay. So anything else that you want to tell myself and the viewers about? Well, before we go there, tell everybody how they can reach you. What's your social media handles? Give us that information.
My personal email is miles.rawls1@gmail.com, and the Goodman League's website is thegoodmanleaguelive.com, and they know my number. They know.
Guys, check out Mr. Miles Rawls. Hit him up if you haven't already done so. So before we close out, is there anything else that you want myself and the viewers to know? Because you're such an amazing person. You have all these great accolades and so many great things going on. I don't want to leave out anything.
With COVID, the thing is where the gates go with gentrification and all of that. I would never let the games end on the note that we didn't play last year. So whenever this stuff clears up, despite the rumors of the people moving in and so forth and so on, they're going to have to deal with me for at least a year.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Because it's time to do something else, maybe indoors or something like that. Because that 25-year run in the sun is beat me up, beat the old boy up a little bit.
Absolutely.
But it's been a great run, and I wouldn't change it for nothing in the world. And I appreciate you for letting me come on your stage and
absolutely,
and share.
Definitely, it's an honor for
Coming
myself.
from Southeast DC, I never thought somebody be calling me to come on there.
Of
shows
course,
or
you have so much to share.
So I'm super humble, super humble.
That's what I grab so much from you, that humble energy. I just absolutely love that. Absolutely. So Thank you guys for tuning in to the Chelley Roy Show. Thank you so much for my amazing guests, my amazing audience. Thank you for Mrs. Dr. Vanetta Rather, and also thank you to Mr. Miles Rawls. You guys have a great night, and we will see you soon. Thank you again.
Thank you, darling. Appreciate you.
The Chelley Roy Show. Welcome to the Chelley Roy Show. You're now tuned to the Chelley Roy Show. Walk-in, entrepreneur. Anything less is unacceptable. The Chelley Roy Show. Welcome to the Chelley Roy Show. You're now tuned to the Chelley Roy Show.